We have head coach of the St. Thomas football team, Glenn Caruso, here with us this afternoon, winner of his 150th game of his career. We will open with an opening statement from Coach Caruso and then open it for questions.
Grateful for the energy. I thought the crowd and the opening day environment was awesome. It was great to see the student body out there. I know that there was a lot of familiarity that I think got us through a very difficult game. And although we didn't play anywhere near pretty, I would even say I don't even know if we played near ugly. It was even worse than that. But happy to see how the guys rebound. And I think a lot of that is because of their the way that they feel when they get a chance to play here at home. And I was talking in this very room to the recruits before the game, and I said, it might not seem like a big deal, but at stake is a home winning streak that dates back to when these kids were in third grade. And I think it really puts things in perspective. So it wasn't pretty, but we're able to get the job done.
We will now open for questions.
Far too many mistakes for your liking, I would assume.
You know me well, Dean, right? And it wasn't even the little things. You know I'm going to get annoyed by anything, right? I'm going to find something at the end of the game. That's how I try and motivate myself, I guess. But there were just some things that were not. At times, especially when I saw the defense running around out there, it didn't make me realize, it didn't make me think that's the defense I recognize. And you've watched enough games. I see Rachel nodding her head. You guys have watched enough games to know that that's not what we're accustomed to. And as I told the guys out, I love them, but I'm going to be ridiculously honest because I love them, is that we have a lot that we have to do in terms of our growth. And we're not very good now, but if we're willing to work really hard, hopefully we'll be a little bit better tomorrow. We'll see.
Pass defense in particular was really lacking today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Now, some of that, I don't want to dismiss the work that Black Hills State did. I mean, there were a few things, Rachel, where schematically they definitely did their homework, and they were able to see where they could have maybe better leverage shots, and they hit on those. But what frustrated me, I think, in the first half relative to that was there were 3 broken plays in the first half, and all 3 of those broken plays were won by Black Hills State. And when we're playing the way that I expect us to play, we have to be good when the plays are good, and we have to be decent when the plays are bad, and we were not decent when the plays were bad. And for them to go 3-0, I think speaks to their ability to be able to make something work on the run, and their confidence as a team. I told Coach after the game, I'll be a fan of theirs. I mean, I'm going to be cheering for him. And he goes, I think that even though I'm sure Coach would rather have won than lost, that's an obvious statement. I think he's going to see when he watches a film that the mental toughness that his team displayed was pretty impressive. And it's not it's not rare to have. I mean, when we play an opponent for the first time, it's a little bit like a junior high dance. It's productive, but it's really awkward at times too, and that's kind of what today was.
What do you want your team to take most out of this game? When they look at the film and look at the mistakes that were made and how they played, what are the lessons you really want them to take away from this game?
Well, the 30,000-foot view is we're nothing special. And before the game, we were blessed to be able to honor the 2022 Pioneer League Championship, right before the coin toss. And that was awesome. And there were 80 guys in that locker room that were a part of that. But it's important for us to understand one of the reasons why we love this sport and why it's so difficult to win year after year after year is because you have to go back to square one every season. Every season you go back from there's faith, there's liberty, there's abundance, and if you're not careful, that's the golden circle. It's going to tip over into complacency. So we have to be confident enough in our abilities to go all the way back to the beginning of that ring. And I think that's the larger view. Leverage, and we have a tolerance for, think about last year, week 1, we went out to Southern Utah, and frankly, I think we got our teeth kicked in, and we tackled really, really, really poorly. If you were to watch us grow throughout the season, I think you would have said, wow, they learned a lot from their failures and their mistakes, and they became a really good team eventually. Well, we're nothing more than that opportunity right now, and hopefully they'll take heed to that.
Are you worried about Mark?
cut him off before. Pat, what's up?
Yeah, did not Ford get hurt in practice this week, and how much did his absence affect what you guys were able to do in passing?
So, did who?
Not Ford.
Yeah, so he wasn't available for today. I don't want to talk about the injuries, but I think anytime you take a good player out of the mix, and it wasn't just him. You know, we played most of the game without Jacob Wildermuth as well, who's been fantastic. And although he was there today, Gabe Abel was another guy. So anytime you take him out, there's always holes to fill. I do think that you were able to see some nice depth today. If you paid attention, you saw us going to halftime with, I think, 3 targets to little Eli Paulson from Anoka, and he caught all 3 balls, and none of them are really, well, that's an opportunity that had Andrew been activated that we might not have had. I'm happy that Amari played really well, and he has a lot of things that he needs to work on too, but when we pulled him out and we could have put him back in the game, Takte Tioka came in. He's been at St. Thomas Tommie for 28 days, 29 days, right? And I think he handled the enormity of the situation really well, even on the one broken play that was a complete bust, and he stayed pretty cool and picked up 12 yards and a pretty important first down.
Amari's injury's not serious then?
He'll be fine. Yep.
So he could have gone back in.
Yes. Yep.
22-0, did you feel like the guys maybe took the foot off the gas?
Yes. However you want to say it. Yeah. I don't think, I mean, it's nothing intentional, right? You still try and play hard. I think huge failure on my part was going for the field goal in the first, the end of the maybe 2-3 minutes in the first half. It might have been a little longer than that. We got blocked. And then from there, it just kind of seemed to have time to head in a downward trajectory. And that's what, I mean, we're going to have good teams. Like, St. Thomas is not sneaking up on anybody anymore. 2 years ago, when you asked that question, maybe we snuck up on a team or two, but that's not going to happen anymore. And why would you want it any other way? I mean, that's the privilege of pressure. And it's our job to make sure that the privilege that we've worked really, really hard for doesn't turn into stress. That's what we can control. And we have to be better at that. We weren't very good, and it all started, to your point, when we were up 22-0 today. Maybe we just had a little too much, a little too easy, a little too fast, in my opinion.
You think you guys did feel some pressure today?
I'm sure you'll have to, you can ask them that. I think in general, we do an amazing job as a team at understanding that and expecting and welcoming that pressure. I mean, there's a lot of sadness out there in the world, and a lot of times we need to recognize. I look at these players in the back of the room, and one of the things I'm very proud of is that they don't try and dismiss stress by eliminating pressures. Pressures are part of life. We know we're going to face them. We not only have to be aware of that, but we have to welcome that. And I think in general, they do a really good job of not allowing the pressures to get to a stress point. That's, like I said, what we control, but we need to, that's a muscle that we have to exercise and grow and learn, just like anything else. And that's one of the blessings of a game like today. We get to exercise that, and it didn't cost us a game to do so.
Early in the fourth quarter, 4th and 5 around midfield, and you decided to go for it.
Did that surprise you, Dean?
It seemed to me that maybe the way your team was playing dictated that.
That's a fair question. I felt at that point like we were playing well enough on defense to be able to stave off the possible negative situation. I just felt really good about the play call. And you know as well as I do, I mean, you've seen it, we'll line up in a formation, and if we don't like the look that we get, if it's not favorable in our opinion, that we'll punt the ball with the quarterback, and we were prepared to do that. So it's all about just trying to skew the odds in our favor. But that was a pretty big play, I thought, because it just TK, Terrence Kamara, did a nice job making that low catch on that ball. But, if you don't have to punt, we'd rather not. The official came out today and said, I don't know if you guys are going to punt today. I know you don't like punting. I said, did you play football? He said, yeah. I said, what position? He goes, wide receiver. I said, did you ever want to punt? He goes, no. I said, then don't put it on me like that, So if we don't have to, we won't. But Elliot Hitter is another guy who you might have seen today. Punted very well. Number 48, freshman from Benilde St. Margaret. So we were able to get a lot of freshmen in the game. That was pretty neat.
You started Shipman, and he had a really good game. Has he emerged as the number one back?
I mean, you're right. He did have a really good game. I don't get too caught up in the titles. I think we have three very, very good tailbacks and one really good fullback. And you covered us every game of last year, Dean, you'll know that it's rare in a Division I league where they play good football that you're going to have all those guys at 100% in any game. Case in point, each one of those three guys had at least a 100-yard game, and they had two 100-yard games. So you were going to need a lot of them. I can say he's a starter, but we're going to play three running backs. It's what we're going to do. And, when I die, if someone else wants to play one running back, they could do that. But until that point in time comes, that's why we recruit the way we recruit. And credit our coaching staff for being able to pull out those skill sets, because everyone's a little different. Sean's different than Gabe Abel, and Gabe's different than Hope. They're all a little bit different. What I loved about Shawn today was it wasn't easy pickings early. I mean, it was some tough sledding. At halftime, my guess would be he might have had 10 or 12 carries for maybe 45, 50 yards would be a guess, and he finishes with 144. And that's the war of attrition mentally that someone needs to have, and he has that for sure. He's a tough kid, physically and mentally.
Do you know if McElroy will be ready to go next week?
I don't. What other questions do you guys have?
All right, thanks, Mel.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you taking it.
All right, here with us today, we have junior running back Shawn Shipman and fifth-year defensive back Johnson Fallah. We will open up the room for questions.
Johnson, since your play started the whole thing, basically, could you kind of talk about what you saw and how you were able to make that read and make the interception?
Yeah, I think our squad player at practice did a good job disguising that play and helping us to prepare for the game. And then I think our defense had good pressure enough for me to make that play. I was just in the right spot at the right time.
Must have felt good.
It felt really good having my parents there and watching me do that.
And Shawn, you got your starting job today. Did that mean something to you?
Just like Coach said, we don't really get caught up into the titles. Three running backs are going to play. It doesn't matter who starts. I mean, we get a lot of carries each, so I just took advantage of my opportunity today.
Shawn, it was very much an up and down performance for you guys. What do you take away from this game?
I take away that we can't get caught up into the stress, like Coach said, and I feel like when we can't get too high or too low, and when things go bad, we just got to keep a level head and just keep moving up and keep moving.
Johnson, is it good to come out and have a tough game from the get-go instead of maybe a blowout that you don't learn as much from?
Yeah, I think this game, at the end of the day, it taught us a lot of lessons on ourselves that under pressure, we always will bounce back. So I think it was a good learning experience for the first game. Hopefully, we always doesn't start like that, but it was a good learning experience, though.
Shawn, what did you think of Amari's first start?
I thought he did pretty good. I'm proud of him. He got a little banged up, but he'll be good, so I'm really proud of him today. And hats off to Tech for stepping up today as well.
Johnson, on the interception, can you tell us what you saw and why you made the play that you did?
Yeah, like I said, I was familiar with the formations, and I think, like I said, back to our scout players, they did a great job in that same formation, and I was just stating my keys and did my job to the best of my ability. I was able to make that play when it came.
Shawn, what would you like to see this team improve on the most from week 1 to week 2?
I'd say capitalizing off our mistakes and not getting low on ourselves and keep shooting ourselves in the foot if we make a mistake, and just being together as one and just keep moving forward and making progress.
Johnson, were there breakdowns in the secondary in terms of some of those receptions where guys were wide open?
Yeah, I think like us, they did a great job on the formations and running their offense as we do. I think we'll better prepare ourselves next week when we see teams like that. But I think overall, we're just going to learn from the mistakes we made and just bounce back next week.
other questions? Outstanding. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks.
guys.
Thank you for having us.